Hey, good morning, everybody. This is Three Monkeys with another continuation of the quick hit series, particularly the 78 to 84 pedalboard build. When we were last together, we were finished with the loop box. We're discussing how it functions, and now it's mounted on the board. At this point, it's time to start wiring up the board itself. And to do that, we're going to use the Three Monkeys DC solderless system and AC solderless systems. And we've got some of our red cable, which matches the background of the board quite nicely, and I kind of like the red anyway. And some of our ends right here. And to make one of our cables, all you really need is a piece of wood. This is a piece of ash left over from a Strat build I did a little while ago, and a box cutter. Just get yourself an ordinary box cutter with this fresh blade in there. And what you want to do, basically, is take your cable and just cut off a little bit, pressing down on it, not sawing, just straight down. Get yourself a nice clean cut. Move the board out of the way for a second. And then take your DC end, and you're going to screw it on. Make sure it's nice and tight. There we go. And we're going to place it into the EVH Chorus, which is a new pedal I just got, which it's kind of cool. And I should say right now, in terms of dressing out the cables, I like to do the DC first, as we talked about, but also in terms of the order that you do it in, I like to start at the pedals that are closest to the supply, moving away from it as we go down the ports. So the logical order for me, in this case on this board, and you may find it to be different in your case, or you may want to do it in a different way, and that's fine. But I like everything to kind of line up next to one another and not have to kind of leap over one another. So logically, to me, it makes sense to use the chorus pedal to here, which is our 9-volt 500 milliamp. The next pedal would be the first Echoplex, which would go here. Then after that, we're going to move over to the MXR 6-band. It's a vintage unit, actually, that I modified with a DC port as well as a true bypass. That'll go to here. Then we'll go to the second Echoplex, which will go over to here. And then to this EP boost, which will go over to here. Then to our octave, to here. To our phase 90, to here. And then the rest of these, the breakout box, or the loop box with the DC breakouts, the flanger, this sort of purpose-built looper, and the second flanger are all running off of 18, so we're going to use these ports here as well as the DC breakouts that we were talking about earlier. So back to dressing out the board and back to the first cable construction, we've got our cable in place, and now what we're going to do is we're going to move it over to the port, kind of taking care of putting it where you want it. And then we're going to measure off where it should be approximately, which I think is right about there. Keep my thumbnail on where I want it cut. Move my board back in. Take my blade. And I'm going to come down and chop on it. There we go. Now we've got a nice clean cut there, which will give us a good sort of connection when we're putting on our plug here. So now we're going to take our plug and we're going to screw it on. Okay? And we're going to get that all the way bottomed out. And we're going to just double check to make sure that this guy's on there nice and tight, which it is. That this guy's on there nice and tight, which it is. And you can use a multimeter like a Fluke if you have one of these to test the continuity to see that the cable is correctly assembled before you put it together. Or you can just use, the reality of whether it works or not. And I'm going to do that for you right here. And I've got my power supply already powered on. So if it's going to work, it's going to work. So what we're going to do now, again, is place this cable in its position that it's going to be in. So we place it into the port on the chorus pedal, and then we're going to place it into the port on the supply and turn it on. And as you can see, no problems there. That works fine. So now we're going to go and dress it down. Make it nice and neat the way we want it. As you can see, that's looking pretty good there. And this cable, as we've talked about before, is formable. So that means when you bend it, it's really going to stay where you want it. And that becomes a big advantage for you when you're dressing the stuff out. It's not going to flop around. So we've got our first pedal done. I'm going to go ahead and start with the second and dress this all out, and the next we see, all the DCs should be set up, and we'll go from there and start with the audio path. So again, check us out at 3 Monkeys DC Solderless. The simplest system out there, no stripping, no screws, very easy to put together. I hope you found this informative, and we'll see you very soon.